The last working session of 20th International Conference of Chief Justices of the World began with the plenary session in the presence of the chief guest, Dr. Mahendra Singh, Cabinet Minister, Water Resources, Government of Uttar Pradesh, and guest of honor, Mr. Virendra Kumar, Director General, Research Development and Standards Organization, RDSO of Indian Railways. Teachers of City Montessori School, Rajendra Nagar Campus 1 conducted the prayer. After the lamp lighting ceremony, here are CMS students making an appeal on behalf of world's children for a better world order. Their theme of appeal: creating awareness and practice human rights earnestly.
Only in enactment of enforceable world law, enacted by a duly constituted world parliament, and creation of an international agency for the peaceful settlement of international disputes can address global issues. There are many cases in which judges have used their powerful influence to pass judgments to make a better future for children. One such case is a landmark decision by the Supreme Court of the Philippines under Chief Justice Hilario David Jr. The government of the Philippines had issued timber licenses which authorized the felling of trees from virgin forests. The court exercised judicial activism and the principle of locus standi, which means the right to bring an action to court, by allowing 43 children from all over the Philippines to challenge the government to enforce the right of their generations and the generations to come to a balanced and helpful ecology. The court ruled in favor of the children, stating that unless the state shall protect the environment, the day would not be too far when all else would be lost, not only for the present generation, but also for those to come.
We present before you two cases where the international courts have stood up to protect the rights of people and have even tried the heads of states for committing crimes against humanity.
Charles Taylor, the 22nd president of Liberia, who was accused of war crimes and crimes against humanity for his involvement in the Sierra Leone Civil War by the International Criminal Court,
including terror, murder, and rape. In May, he was sentenced to 50 years in prison. Reading the sentencing statement, Presiding Judge Richard Lusick said, "The accused has been found responsible for aiding and abetting, as well as planning some of the most heinous and brutal crimes recorded in human history."
Survive the entire trial. There is a possibility of the trial ending in conviction by the International Court had the charges been proved. Your Lordships, crimes against humanity constitute a serious attack on human dignity, a grave humiliation, or a degradation of one or more human beings. We, the children, believe that enforceable international law is the only weapon which can dissuade those, even in the highest positions of power, from committing these crimes.
Pleasure to welcome Honorable Chief Guest Dr. Mahendra Singh, Honorable Shri Virendra Kumar ji, Director General of RDSO, respected Mrs. Masami Sayonji, President and the founder of the World Peace Prayer Society from Japan,
आदरणीय जगदीश गांधी जी, जिनको मैं अक्सर कहता हूँ कि ये जगत के ईश हैं, इसलिए इनको जगदीश कहा गया है और पूरी दुनिया के अंदर एक नया संदेश देने का काम कर रहे हैं। मैं इनका अभिनंदन करता हूँ। Article 51 is constitutional mandate that has been given to the government of India to make an effort for world unity and world peace. It is also India's gift to the world which, when coupled with the ancient ethos of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, संपूर्ण धरती को हम जिस मानवता के साथ देखते हैं और दुनिया को जो संदेश देना चाहते हैं, उसमें बहुत बड़ी बात है कि पंडित अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी ने कहा था, सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्, meaning that the world is but one family and mankind, its citizens, inspire us to endeavor to build a world that is just, fair and united.
Chief Academic Advisor CMS Dr. Sunita Gandhi and her team launched their book Literacy Now. It may be mentioned here, the book is a result of sustained literacy building work in India by USA-based Council for Global Education, of which Dr. Sunita Gandhi is the president.
जब मैं अपने दोस्तों को बताता हूँ कि मैं यहाँ लखनऊ में हिंदी पढ़ा रहा हूँ, वो काफ़ी हैरान हो जाते हैं. So when I tell my friends that I'm here as a Hindi teacher, they're very surprised. But really, I've taught around 80 children and adults over the last 2 years how to read. And I found it's a great privilege for me to interact with the underprivileged, those who are not yet able to read, to interact with them, touch their lives with the gift of literacy. And I receive a lot in return as well, just from hearing their stories, from seeing how they go about their daily lives. So please, I encourage you to read this book, and please give us your endorsement, your message as well. Thank you so much.
As I believe the book demonstrates, to bring literacy is not a difficult task. We are not talking about international peace. We are not talking about climate change. We are not talking about enormous, intractable problems. We know the solutions. We know how to teach literacy. The only problem is the will. If we prioritize literacy, it will happen. The only question is whether we'll make it a priority.
The platform was a wonderful opportunity for coming together of religious leaders called by the not-profit organization called Heavenly Culture World Peace Restoration of Light, or HWPL. The plenary session was addressed by the chief guest of honor. Here are the excerpts from the session.
Somos incapazes de cumprir nas nossas aspirações ou mesmo de viver em nível proporcional aos padrões mínimos da dignidade humana.
According to the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Human Rights and Environment, all human beings depend on the environment in which we live. A safe, clean, healthy, and sustainable environment is integral to the full enjoyment of a wide range of human rights, including the right to life, health, food, water, and sanitation. Without a healthy environment, we are unable to fulfill our aspiration or even live at the level commensurated with the minimum standard of human dignity.
O Judiciário moçambicano de envergar o judiciário.
We choose this topic for two important reasons. First, Mozambique faced the two important natural disasters, the cyclone called Idai and Kenneth. Cyclone Idad was one of the worst ever weather-related disaster in the southern Africa. When it hit the region in March, it brought flooding, landslide, and high winds, affecting nearly 3 million people and causing almost 1,000 deaths across Mozambique, Malawi, and Zimbabwe. On 25th of April, a second disaster category 4 tropical cyclone Kenneth hit the northern part of Mozambique, affecting 30,000 people in Cabo Delgado, leaving 40 dead and 20,000 houses destroyed. This disaster killed a lot of children and left more than 1.4 million humanitarian needs. This includes the basic needs such as shelter, food, water, clothing, health, and schools.
So, many thanks to all of you staff of CMS, to you, Dr. Jagdish Gandhi, to give us the opportunity to realize together a dream. All the countries of the world together combine and discuss and think together about creating a world full of peace through peace education by setting up a global governance. A global governance having a goal: provide a safe and secure future for the present and for the yet to be born children of the world. So allow me to give you briefly some reflections to the setting up of this effective governance. The global governance for peace and unity would be based on unity, equality, and mutual respect between the country's members. Peace and moral education will be the goal of its action. The global governance will be composed by World Parliament for Peace and Unity. Secondly, World Court of Justice must be established. The adoption of international laws for children's protection and for peace promotion is useless if these laws are not to be applied and if there is no respect of these laws. It's the reason why the World Court of Justice must be established.
The efforts of the students of City Montessori School under the aegis and guidance of our respected founders, Dr. Jagdish Gandhi and Dr. Mrs. Bharti Gandhi, and highlighting the fact that India has been pioneering this endeavor. From Madagascar for India, which says, India is the flame that leads all countries to a world of peace and unity, protecting the rights of children, ladies and gentlemen. Truly a matter of pride for all of us at City Montessori School in Lucknow City in India. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the United Nations system to shoulder this noble responsibility, all nations need to be ready with the requisite political will and determination to work with higher vigor to promote global collective growth through robust coordination and cooperation. First and foremost, world leaders should be dedicated enough to promote the mission of revamping the United Nations system. On the part of my country, Eritrea, as it has repeatedly done before, it is seizing every possible opportunity to carry forward the responsibility of urging the reform of the United Nations. To quote from the statement of Eritrean Foreign Minister, His Excellency Osman Saleh, forwarded on 30th September 2019, quote, "The international community will have to glean important lessons from the recent past to ensure that the current period, which may have turned as a transition towards a new global order, will lead to and enhance global stability and prosperity. In this regard, it is both timely and proper to revamp and strengthen the United Nations so that it will shoulder its obligations and responsibilities with higher effectiveness. Unquote.
Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela et dans mon pays, particulièrement Patrice Emery Lumumba, héros de l'indépendance, qui a été assassiné en 1961 et brûlé dans l'acide à Lubumbashi pour avoir réclamé l'indépendance aux colonisateurs belges.
First and foremost, I pay my tributes to all the great men who have fought for peace, namely Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, and in my country particularly, Patrice Emery Lumumba, and a hero of the independence who was murdered in 1961 and then burnt in acid in Lubumbashi for demanding independence from the Belgian colonizers. So this is an opportunity to paraphrase the former Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Kofi Annan, who said, "There is no peace without development, there is no development without democracy, and there is no democracy without justice and respect for human rights." And so, with great vivacity, I felicitate all the participants of this conference who constitute the core of the goodness in the world, of which Martin Luther King feared that if there is indifference. But then these people have been standing up for several years to promote peace, justice, and unity in the world through the International Conference of Chief Justices of the World, which is based on the Article 51.
Excellencies and Honorable Chief Justices and Judges, the other side of the picture is that this year has brought us promise as refreshing and as inspiration as it can. The example of which the young Swedish girl, teenager, Greta Thunberg, has set with her climate strikes, silent demonstrations, and her speech at the UN General Assembly this September, which has re-stimulated the global discussion on climate change. It has lifted our spirits to see hope in our youth and in coming generations. Greta has not only motivated millions of youth and other children of her generation to develop a collective climate consciousness, but also to hold their respective governments and corporates accountable. They are now demanding to know what they are doing to address this greatest crisis in human history. Greta has not only championed the cause of climate, but also drawn attention of the world to the power of children to impact global discourse. Something that this institution, that is City Montessori School, and this conference of Chief Justices of the world has been advocating for the last 20 years, that the children can be most powerful stakeholders and champions in our search for everlasting global peace.
Our lives, our future. We are at a crossroad. We are facing unprecedented challenges. We have to make the right turn now. We must put ourselves on course towards a sustainable future for all. We must realize our global goals. To make this happen, we need to act now, and we need to accelerate action. To world leaders we say, listen up.
This is, I think, the top priority of all governments, and we must work together to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals.
This may be our last chance these next 20 years. Not last chance in terms of we're all going to die in 20 years, but we will have set in motion things that will change the earth forever, that we'll never be able to go back and fix.
In the main auditorium, CMS students made a second appeal for acceleration of 17 Sustainable Developing Goals, which is a blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all, so much required to transform our world.
19 years after the Millennium Summit and a series of review meetings and international consultations, the survival, education, development, and the protection of the children of the world is still a far-off dream.
We recognize that eradicating poverty in all its forms and dimensions, including extreme poverty, is the greatest global challenge and an indispensable requirement for sustainable development. The agenda states that all countries and all stakeholders acting in a collaborative partnership will implement this plan. It further states, we are resolved to free the human race from the tyranny of poverty and want, and to heal and secure our planet.
We are determined to take the bold and transformative steps which are urgently needed to shift the world onto a sustainable and resilient path. As we embark on this collective journey, we pledge that no one will be left behind. The 17 Sustainable Development Goals and 169 targets demonstrate the scale and ambition of this new universal agenda. They seek to build on the Millennium Development Goals and to complete what these did not achieve. They seek to realize the human rights of all and to achieve gender equality and empowerment of all women and girls. They are integrated and indivisible and balance the three dimensions of sustainable development: the economic, social, and environmental.
The goals and targets will stimulate action till 2030 in areas of critical importance for humanity and the planet. The agenda states, we are determined to end poverty and hunger in all their forms and dimensions, and to ensure that all human beings can fulfill their potential in dignity and equality and in a healthy environment. We are determined to protect the planet from degradation, including through sustainable consumption and production, sustainably managing its natural resources, and taking urgent actions on climate change so that it can support the needs of present and future generations.
We are determined to ensure that all human beings can enjoy prosperous and fulfilling lives. We are determined to foster peaceful, just, and inclusive societies which are free from fear and violence. There can be no sustainable development without peace, and no peace without sustainable development. We are determined to mobilize the means required to implement this agenda through a revitalized global partnership for sustainable development based on a spirit of strengthened global solidarity, focused in particular on the needs of the poorest and the most vulnerable, and with the participation of all countries, all stakeholders, and all people.
The lives of all will be profoundly improved, and the world will be transformed for the better. We applaud the sublime resolution that they have made to end poverty and hunger everywhere, to combat inequalities within and among countries, to build peaceful, just, and inclusive societies, to protect human rights, and to promote gender equality and the empowerment of women